Get started then. This is a special meeting and it's with Idaho Fish and Game. It's June 13th, 2023 and the time is 1:30 p.m. I'm calling this meeting to order. In attendance are Commissioners Brooks, Matari, and Duncan. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Nope.
Okay, hearing none. We're here to discuss the purchase of airport property occupied by Coeur d'Alene Skeet Club. And we're here with the Director of Fish and Games, Idaho Fish and Game, Jim Fredericks. And we have a Deputy Attorney General here, Kathleen Trevor. And then we have Carson Watkins with our local CDA, Idaho Fish and Game office. So I don't know who... you want to start? You want me to start? Where do you want?
I'd want you to start.
Okay, sure. So a while back, it's been, the property was released from the airport layout plan. And so the future of the Skeet Club has been questioned. And so we've had a local senator take up the mantle and get it passed through legislation that Idaho Fish and Game may be interested in purchasing the property in order to preserve shotgun sports in our area. So I guess with that, we're to the point where negotiations can start because you've got kind of a mandate from the legislature to go ahead and look at purchasing this property. For me, I don't speak on behalf of the other commissioners. However, I believe that they do share my goals, and that's to preserve shotgun shooting sports. It's to comply with the FAA, and it's to provide a safe environment for the adjoining lots around the Skeet Club. So with that, I don't know if you want to add your department's thing, and you can just set that on the table because it'll pick you up. There you go.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Jim Fredericks with the Department of Fish and Game, and we're here to continue the conversation about...
Can you just flip? There you go. Perfect. Thanks.
Acquisition of the shooting range and, providing these opportunities for the public, recreational shooting. It's very important to us, so it's certainly consistent with our objectives. We have the appropriation now, and the next steps, we are here just to discuss next steps about how to proceed with this acquisition. The funding source that we will be using is federal aid and wildlife management Pittman-Robertson. So there are federal constraints to how those funds can be spent. So there will be a federal involvement in this. And so our objective here is to just identify the roadmap to proceeding with the acquisition.
Okay. So as far as the roadmap goes, I think that legal needs to be involved on both sides because we've got a lot of moving parts, I guess, making sure that we're going to comply with the FAA and Fish and Wildlife. So I think that's probably the next step as far as that goes. I think we can start. We do have two attorneys. We have our in-house attorney, and then we do have an outside attorney. And so I would think that they would start with the inside, our in-house attorney. And then once a draft agreement is made, then we can send it out to our specialized attorney, I guess, to look at that. And we've already discussed as a board having the outside attorney walk us through the entire sale process. But once again, they're not going to have the Fish and Wildlife piece. And so that's what we need to bring to the table in order for them to guide us in that process. So I'm going to open it up to Bill. Do you have thoughts?
Yeah, my big thought is we need to do what we can to save the gun club. But my concern is the EPA and the extent to which that property in the short shotfall zone and a little further out has been fouled over the last 20 years. I know they've done some shot reclaiming, but those guys come in and take the top 10, 15% out of the soil roll it in a barrel and take off with it. They're not really there. They're not really concerned about how clean the ground is. And I'm fairly familiar, having been a real estate broker, that you can't sell a piece of property and relieve yourself of environmental liability. And that's something that concerns me. Now, that being said, I don't know if it's, I probably pulled the trigger out there more than anybody in this room. I was a level 3 skeet instructor and taught kids as well as adults and shot myself. So I love the Coeur d'Alene skeet and trap. So I'm not trying to throw a blanket on it. I just want to make sure. I think we also have a partner, and I'd love it not to be true, but I think we have the state, we have the club, and we have the EPA, and the FAA, all involved in the.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Brooks, I appreciate those comments, and I'd add one more. We have the Fish and Wildlife Service, right, as a funding entity. So it is complicated. I know that there's an appraisal underway. I know that there was an appraisal done previously. So I think there's a lot of homework that needs to be done in terms of what would be the stipulations involved with a transaction. I fully appreciate the discussion around remediation and what would be required. And that's just, I can't speak to it right now because we just really have not done that work.
The lease that they've signed with the county calls for cleanup if they were to leave the site. And some of the club members have said to me, oh, we can't afford that. So we'll just walk away. And I said, that's a bad idea. There's a lot of companies who work out in the Silver Valley, in the Silver Valley, who would love to walk away from what they did. And they ended up paying millions of dollars. So I'm concerned about that. And it's complicated. And it would be great, but somehow you can't release everybody from liability for what's happened out there, I think. We've got to have a cleanup plan. And I think it'll be easier and cheaper to be there than to move it someplace else. And so let me know what I can do.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioner Brooks, I do appreciate that. I think agree again that this is all part of the due diligence that we need to be doing as we proceed here.
I do have some thoughts. First of all, I think we all are in agreement that the Coeur d'Alene Skeet and Trap Club is an integral part of our community. This is a Second Amendment community, and part of preserving those rights is to preserve places where people can shoot. So I think we're all in alignment of trying to preserve the Skeet and Trap Club. I think the issue partly is the fact that because when it was under the airport's ownership, there were limitations with the lease. Yes, the leasee does have language stipulating cleanup, but we also know that if we can keep the club there and they can have a good long-term lease, then they will have the opportunity to get grant money to not only improve the premises, but also to look at trying to do some cleanup there. So it's really something where with Fish and Game working together with the club and having a good long-term plan, I think that you will be able to accomplish some of those goals. If not, most of them. With respect to the transfer of the property, I agree with Commissioner Duncan that we probably should start with in-house counsel to put together a framework for the deal to try to, address some of the issues that are going to be important to all the parties, and then get the outside counsel who has specialization with the airport and the FAA regulations to make sure that, put the finishing touches on the contract to make sure it'll pass muster with them. But I agree that that's probably the better way to go to initiate this process.
All right, and then once the agreement's agreed upon by the board, it's a 10-day publication. At the end of the 10 days, then we can transfer it. So that would be only one more county requirement once the agreement has come forward. So that's pretty easy to get done. And then I guess there isn't really a time frame. I understand you have reports that need to be sent. I guess it'd be to the legislature in December?
Yes,
Is that, okay.
yes, by December.
Okay, so we've got some time, and we're just happy to get this ball rolling, and I can have our council reach out to you and go from there. So I don't know that there's a lot of specifics right now because I think we have some regulations to deal with before we can start putting specific things in the lease. I'm not the lease, I apologize, the purchase agreement. So I probably would hesitate right now today putting those in, but Dave is aware of them.
Well, I was referring to the conceptual parts of the agreement, not the specifics.
Sure.
So,
Okay. All right. Anything else, Bill?
That's it now.
Okay.
Be great if we could all get this working together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed.
Anything else, Director?
No, I think that covers it from our end. Yeah, appreciate the opportunity to talk today.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you.
yeah,
I
thank you
will-
for coming up.
I will open it to public comment.
Good afternoon, Tom DeSanko.
Did you push the button? Needs to turn green. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Tom DeSanko. I'm a member of the CDA Skeet and Trap Club Board. We, as a board, we support the acquisition of the property by Idaho Department of Fish and Game. Our club is over 60 years old, and as Commissioner Matari said, that we are part of the community. There are many sporting clays and clay shooting enthusiasts that enjoy the club, not only just from the CDA area, but from the tri-state area as well. We've hosted the Governor's Cup there, as well as the Youth State Championships. And we have a program for women on target for women to start into shooting sports as well. We had a number of high schools enjoy the club with their teams, and they've traveled to youth championships down in Boise, and we've hosted the youth championships there. We would like to see, through the negotiations, acquire the 60 acres that is there, and that would be an enhancement to for any encroachment that could be a safety issue there, and then also add for safety issues for the area. My understanding currently that we are in compliance with EPA standards for the club and what we're doing there. And we have in the past reclaimed shot off of the land. Normally it goes down a number of inches, as Commissioner Brooks has said, and then we're looking at maybe doing that here in the future as well. I'd like to thank Senator Okonowitz for his work on working on getting the appropriations for Fish and Game, along with his colleagues. That was very instrumental, and that'll also be instrumental in the future of the club. Thank you.
Thank you.
Where do the kids go if they can't shoot, if they can't practice? If they can't practice at Coeur d'Alene, where would they go to shoot? What's the closest place?
What would be the closest place, Ed? Missoula, Montana. As you know, that's quite a trip,
know.
and then quite a trip, especially during the winter months as well.
Spokane shut down.
Spokane is shut down, and it'd be quite a trip there, which I think you'd see probably youth shooting sports, at least for the clay part of it, being dissolved, since the cost of transportation for the schools and or the parents as well. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anything further? Oh, 1:46, meeting adjourned. Thank you. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.